Scott Newell is a general contractor. He was the pastor at Voth Church in April 2013. He can't believe the flash fire was almost 2 years ago.
People are still in shock. People still can't believe it. People still are saying, why? How could this be? And I'm sure that'll be one for us all for a long, long time.
12 workers were injured. 4 were sent to UTMB's burn unit with severe burns. 2 of those men attended Newell's church, Lance Smith and Dustin Creekmore. Creekmore later died from his injuries, so did Chad McDonald.
You really ought to say that as how it still affects the family. Once Lance was out of the hospital, once we had Dustin's funeral, once we experienced the death of Chad, once we experienced all of those things, we're still experiencing those things.
He has nightmares. He wakes up out of his sleep.
Gilbert Adams is Jimmy Solomon's attorney. Solomon survived the flash fire and is still recovering.
In fact, he can't even be exposed to sunlight due to the keloid scarring.
Adams says if ExxonMobil hadn't changed its procedure and told workers to use a cutting torch to cut the final 4 bolts on an exchanger, the exchanger wouldn't have exploded.
Mr. Solomon had always been taught that you don't use a cutting torch because if there's some residue in the exchanger, there can be an explosion.
Adams says ExxonMobil told Solomon that the company Clean Harbors would clean the exchanger and ExxonMobil would test to make sure there was no residue left.
He took their reliance and their assurance that they were going to test it and make sure there was no residue left in the exchanger. And that was the very first one that they did this new procedure on, and the explosion occurred.
He says Solomon feels anguish for his team.
They were all actually younger than he was, and he was the foreman.
In Beaumont, Lauren Huet, Fox 4 News.